Business consulting. If you were instrumental in growing a company in whatever capacity, you can choose to become a business consultant. Business consultants earn quite a bit of money because people are looking for their experience. You can give out advice. You can start up through crucial stages of its development. You can offer coaching services. There are so many ways you can offer your business consultant services. It all boils down to how much knowledge you have. Freelance versus publishers. The big factor to consider if you're thinking of becoming an online business consultant really boils down to delivery. Usually when people think of consulting, they think of somebody who physically shows up, talks to certain people, and then comes up with some sort of report. The company is supposed to read through this report and change their business practices based on the recommendations. Online business consulting is slightly different. Basically, you send out questionnaires and you then come up with a final report which you email to your client. But that's just one way of doing things. That is the one-to-one type of consulting. Basically, you deal with a specific business based on its merits, and then you send out the specific consultation report. There's another way you can make money as a business consultant. You can basically have people fill out the same questionnaire, but depending on their answers, you can send out canned or pre-written recommendations. The great thing about this is you work once, but you make money many times over. How come? You wrote the recommendations once. The only work that you're doing is to read the questionnaire and see which type of report to send to which client. The drawbacks of one-to-one consultation. It's very easy to think that the best way to become a business consultant is for people to get in touch with you via Skype and you just talk to them. The better approach would be to just come up with a canned or pre-recorded or pre-written product that governs many different common issues. You then send it out and then the customer can customize their implementation of your advice. You can then set up a one-to-one consultation for something more specific. This enables you to make more money, bookkeeper or tax accountant. If you have a specialized knowledge regarding accounting or you were a CPA or a bookkeeper before, you can work from home offering this type of service. Basically, people need bookkeepers, and unfortunately, nearby bookkeepers cost a lot of money. Also, this type of service can easily be done online. You just send out digital packages. As long as you have the skills to do this, you can provide it through the internet. 2 models. There are 2 service provision models for people looking to become online bookkeepers or tax accountants. Use an agency or provide it directly yourself. Going through an agency. The great thing about becoming part of an online bookkeeping or accounting agency is that you don't have to worry about where your next project's going to come from. They do promotions and they basically will market themselves, so they get a steady stream of clients for you. The downside to working with an agency is that a significant chunk of your income will go to the agency. Going your own way. The great thing about offering your own tax accounting and bookkeeping service directly to the general public is the fact that you don't have to split your fee with anybody. The downside to this is that you have to know online marketing well for you to earn using this technique. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for you to earn money as a tax accountant or bookkeeper. You have to have the right marketing skills to make this happen. See the marketing section later in this training. Online tutor or teacher. There are many disciplines requiring tutorial assistance. Generally speaking, these boil down to science, math, and English. If you are good with written English or spoken English, you can become an online tutor. 2 types of tutoring platforms. If you're looking to tutor people through the internet, please understand that there's really only 2 platforms for this. You have to choose wisely, otherwise you might not make much money as an online tutor. Type number 1. Go through an online agency. The great thing about signing up for an online tutoring agency is that they will find clients for you. You don't have to worry about finding a student. Your main worry is to get accepted into an online tutoring platform. Type number 2. Go your own way. The alternative to using an agency is to go your own way. In other words, you put up your own website and you market your online teaching and tutoring services directly. The great thing about this approach is you get to charge more money. Remember, when you're using any kind of agency, you are splitting the fee with the agency. Unfortunately, in an agency environment, they set the fee. If the fee is very low so as to make their services more affordable, guess who takes the hit? That's right, you do. So when you market directly to your potential students, you earn more money and you keep more money. Another advantage is you don't have to worry about personality and temperament issues because ultimately you either convince the student to hire you or you don't. You don't have to go through some sort of bureaucracy or attitude test. The downside to going your own way is that you have to know how to market online. You may have to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads and Google search ads to get customers. If you don't know what you're doing with online marketing, you might end up paying too much money only to have very little to show for it. Become an online seller. Online commerce is here and is here to stay. It's getting larger and larger. Wouldn't you want to get a nice piece of that pie? The problem with online selling. The problem with most online sellers is that they think they have to do all sorts of things to sell online. This means they have to hang on to inventory, prepay for it, store it in a warehouse, physically handle the stock, deal with returns, refunds, and all sorts of customer support headaches. On top of all this, they face a tremendous amount of competition regardless of their niche. It is no surprise that initial adopters of online stores or early online store builders tended to fail. Fast forward to today. Now, more online sellers are making money reliably, predictably, and profitably. What changed? 2 words: dropshipping. Dropshipping explained. Dropshipping is a fulfillment method. Basically, you put up a website to attract traffic and buyers from the internet. They can find you through search engines or social media. When they find your store, they can see your products. If they like a product, they can click a button to order it. When that happens, it triggers software that orders from your supplier. Normally, this is a Chinese supplier from places like AliExpress. The customer doesn't see any of this. Instead, they make a payment at your website and start to wait for the product they ordered. Your website, on the other hand, automatically places their order to your supplier in China. The Chinese supplier then ships the order directly to your customer. It doesn't even pass through your hands. How nifty is that? You don't have to worry about warehousing, inventory handling, or most other fulfillment headaches. If there are any problems, exchanges and refunds are very easy. How come? Normally, the difference between the price drop shippers charge to customers in the United States and Canada is so big that they can absorb quite a bit of losses. How to get started as an online seller. There are 2 ways you can set up an online store. You can use a dedicated store using WordPress and WooCommerce. You can use a plugin to import products from your supplier at AliExpress. Personally, I would use a simpler option. I would use Shopify. Shopify is awesome because all the hosting is taken care of. You don't have to host your own online store. You can bet that its hosting infrastructure is safe and powerful. You don't have to worry about your website going offline. Also, Shopify supports all sorts of plugins, the most important being Oberlo. Oberlo works closely with AliExpress. So, when you do a search on Oberlo, you can find all sorts of products on AliExpress. Just select them with your browser and Oberlo will automatically populate your Shopify store with these products. Also, Oberlo will automate the ordering system. This is what sealed the deal for me. When somebody goes to my store and buys a product, the payment is processed through Shopify and my PayPal account is credited. At the same time, Oberlo will take the order details of that transaction and send it automatically to my source at AliExpress. My PayPal is then automatically charged, and I keep the difference. Virtual juror. In high-stakes litigation, lawyers really are not in a position to leave anything to chance. They'd rather present their cases to people that match the profile of the jury pool in their jurisdiction. You have to fill out an online survey to see your personal profile. And if you get picked for that online jury pool, you get paid as an online juror. You basically just listen to the arguments of the lawyers, you look at the evidence presented, and then you render your opinion. In many cases, you are asked to explain why you decided the way you decided. This is then recorded by the online juror company and presented as a report to the litigators involved. The law firms will then look at the profile of different types of jurors so they can use them as a way to guide them in picking out the proper jury composition in their lawsuit. In other words, by going through an online juror system, they can get a good idea as to which jurors to select so as to maximize their chances of success. On the other hand, if the online jurors uniformly or almost universally decide for the plaintiff or the defendant, the law firm might decide to just settle the case. No matter how you cut it, your job as an online or virtual juror is actually very important. It can save companies a lot of money. It can also save plaintiffs a lot of hassle. Other work-from-home opportunities. If you want to work at home, there are many different options available to you that can involve a hybrid of online visibility and offline work. What follows is just a general sampling of this type of hybrid opportunity. Keep in mind that these opportunities require real work. You have to physically be somewhere. You're basically back to active income in the sense that you are trading in your time for money. The only online dimension to this is that people will find out about your service through the internet. Catering, baking, and cooking. If you have a Facebook account, you can use Facebook to offer catering services. Facebook is geared towards local businesses, so when people look for local catering and baking or cooking services, they can find your business. You can sell prepackaged meals that you prepared in advance, or you can rent yourself out as an on-site chef or cook. If you're going to go into this kind of business, make sure you look for competitive pricing. Childcare. You can offer childcare services out of your home. However, make sure you comply with local licensing rules. There are also potential insurance bond issues that you need to comply with. Care for pets. You can also set up your home as some sort of doggy hotel. There is a tremendous amount of demand for this type of service. You can also walk people's dogs for them or otherwise take care of their pets as a pet sitter. You can advertise these services on places like Craigslist. Depending on your jurisdiction, you might have to get a permit and insurance. You also might have to get certain modifications to your premises built. Handicrafts, painting, and music. If you are in any way creative, you can just create music or graphic arts packages and sell these online. There are lots of people looking for royalty-free music. You can either join a website that acts as a clearinghouse for this type of material, or you can sell it through your own site. Mechanic services. If you love cars, you can advertise on Craigslist to be a drop-in mechanic. Now, please understand that people would pay good money for this because you are actually visiting them and doing repair work on their car. The same possible legal issues of pet sitting apply here as well. Gardening services. You can offer informal gardening services through the internet. There are a lot of people who need certain plants trimmed or their lawns mowed. This can be lucrative, but your service page has to be very visible online. Where to get online jobs? Assuming that you want to become a virtual assistant, or you want to work as an online tutor or perform any kind of work that can be done online for clients, you really only have 3 major sources of these types of jobs. Please understand that these are categorical sources, meaning there are many different variations to these, but ultimately this is how they operate. Your 3 choices are going your own way, micro-sourcing platforms, or job matching platforms. Method number 1, going your own way. When you go your own way, you're basically selling your services through your website. Maybe your website is just a page on blogger.com or medium.com. It's still an online service page. Obviously, you should adopt the most professional-looking online presence. Invest in a domain name, get it hosted somewhere, and make sure that your website looks professional. The more professional your site, the higher the chance people will hire you. Pretty straightforward. How to get people to visit your site. When you do go your own way, you're basically taking out online ads or promoting your website or doing some sort of outreach to get people to do business with you. The bottom line is to get people to see your website so they can see what it is you offer. You can charge much higher rates than if you were to advertise your service on a platform. There's no comparison. The only person you're being compared to is yourself. Watch the video on online marketing to get a basic understanding of traffic building techniques you can use. Another downside to going your own way is that you have to learn how to sell online. Please understand that there's a big difference between learning how to drive traffic and learning how to sell. A lot of people confuse these two things, and that's why they spend a lot of money on paid ads with very little to show for it. You also have to set up a web presence that can convert traffic into sales. This is not as easy as you think because it takes quite a bit of time and attention to detail, but it can be done. Method number 2, micro-sourcing platforms. Micro-sourcing platforms are places like Fiverr where service providers set up an account under which they can then create many different ads. Each ad relates to a specific task they perform for other people. For example, if you're a graphic designer who can produce banners, headers, Photoshop edited photos, and other graphics tasks, when you join a micro-sourcing platform, you agree to price your service according to their price restrictions. On Fiverr, service providers used to be restricted to only $5. Not anymore. But you can only offer one specific task per ad. These are very task-specific. Potential buyers would then go through Fiverr and they would do searches for tasks related to the ones you're offering. The big advantage of microsourcing platforms like Mechanical Turk, Fiverr, or Micro Workers is that they're job specific. There's no guesswork as to the kind of task you are expected to perform. The downside to microsourcing platforms is that the competition is so intense that it's normally a race to the bottom. These task platforms or microsourcing websites are very price sensitive. So make sure that you only offer services that you can earn good money from. This means you should offer specialized services. Method number 3, job matching platform. A job matching platform flips the script of microsourcing. With microsourcing sites, clients basically have to select among ads posted by the service providers. With job matching platforms, it's the other way around. The clients will post the details for their project, and then the service providers would bid for that project. The big advantage of these platforms is that the client has a lot more control. The client can specify certain types of skills, they can dictate certain outcomes, and they can select among the pool of potential contractor bidders. The big disadvantage of job matching platforms is that service providers are forced to compete. A lot of people posting specialized jobs on job matching platforms expect to pay $1 for a Ferrari. The good news is that if you specialize and have a solid track record, you can still do well on this type of freelancing platform. Senior Citizen's Guide to Basic Digital Marketing. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the many different ways you can promote your passive income business. Whether you have a download site, some sort of service platform, an app you had programmed for you, a piece of software, a book or blog that makes you money, you need to know the basics of online marketing so you can drive traffic. It's really as simple as this question. No traffic means no money. Wrap your mind around that. If you want to generate passive income from the internet, you have to figure out how to drive that traffic. Of course, the cheaper the traffic, the better. The good news is that the vast majority of the methods I'm going to describe below are free. Don't get too excited. Nothing is really free. They may not cost you actual dollars, but they will cost you your time. So if you have a lot of time, you can take these steps and produce quite a bit of traffic. It goes without saying that if you are selling your services through your own website or through a Web 2.0 site like Blogger.com or Medium.com or WordPress.com, you can also use the same digital marketing methods described here. Preliminary step number 1, start a blog to promote your service. Create a blog on your own domain name if you can. If not, use Web 2.0 platforms like WordPress.com, Blogger.com, or Medium.com. When you create a professional-looking blog, this means you have to put graphics. Maybe you need to install a theme. Make it look good. Once you've done that, address basic questions regarding your service. Why would people want to use your service? What kind of problem do they have? For example, if you are a graphics designer, why would people need the help of a graphic designer? Well, normally, they would need banners. They would need graphical headers for their blogs. They may need specialized graphics for a blog post. Talk about those needs and why it's a good idea to use those types of items. Talk about the benefits of such graphical products for people's business. Go to places like Quora.com to compile a massive list of questions people normally ask regarding your type of business. Answer those questions on your blog. Alternatively, you could offer buyer's guides. This is intended for people who already want to hire people like you. This content is intended to convince them to hire you instead of somebody else. In your guide, you will say that people should look for certain qualities or certain features, and then you upsell your service. The bottom line is you create online resources that address the end user's needs. When they read these materials, they will figure out key questions regarding their needs, and your brand becomes more credible to them. They are more likely to buy from you because you gave them critical information that could help them make a more informed decision. Preliminary step number 2, create a sales funnel. Once you have started a blog to promote your service, you need to create a sales funnel. This is crucial. A lot of people think that once they put any kind of content on the internet, that somehow, some way, that content will magically transform traffic into cold hard cash. I wish it were that easy. While I have no doubt that this sometimes happens, but for the most part, it doesn't. You have to understand that most people are busy. Most people have better things to do. So as much as possible, they would rather be pushed into or persuaded into some sort of sales conversion process. If your content doesn't do that, then you can kiss that potential sale goodbye. Instead, those eyeballs will eventually convert for somebody else. Conclusion. Working after retirement can provide great opportunities to work on your own terms. Companies appreciate the value older workers bring to the table. There are many ways you can work online. You can work on your own terms. You can work on your own schedule, because the internet has just made remote work so much more flexible and lucrative. You can also look into building passive income systems. If you are sick and tired of having to actively work for your money, creating online passive income through online publishing and other methods is definitely a great option. With that said, use the information above to zero in on remote income options that make the most sense in your situation. You can take a long, hard look at your personal circumstances and look for the right fit. Just because other people are doing it and generating good results, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be right for you. You have to look at the totality of the situation. Make sure that everything fits just right so you can take advantage of the right opportunities and produce the right outcome. The best part? You got to learn something new. Just because you're a little older doesn't necessarily mean you have to be old. People become old when they shut their minds to new possibilities. People become old when they refuse to learn. People become old when they become stubborn and insist on hanging on to what they think they know. When you put yourself out there as an online worker, you basically get paid to learn. You basically get paid to push out of your mental and emotional comfort zone, and things become possible. You start looking at the world with a tremendous amount of possibility and a sense of adventure.